Chapter 527, Anger, Hatred. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Swoosh. Jiang Yuochen pointed his fingers, and space shattered like glass. It was ripped open with a multitude of breaches. Then it suddenly collapsed. He peeked inside the space breach and saw a murky, void and chaotic space. The surrounding dozens meters collapsed. Driven by a devouring power, the whole area turned into a giant vortex. Actually, Xu Hai had been watching for Jiang Ruochen to apply space power. He just did not expect that Jiang Ruochen would collapse all the space within a certain area. I can't be involved in a space collapse. Even a half-saint would for sure die if he fell into it. Xu Hai was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He ran his genuine chi with all his strength to use the power of the holy soft leather armor. He rushed out of the vortex at an unprecedented speed. Before he could be happy, he saw that Jiang Yuochen controlled a giant 33-meter-long ice sword and was slashing at him. Bang! The ice sword hit Xu Hai and sent him back into the collapsed space. No, no! Xu Hai stretched out his arm, wanting to escape. Unfortunately, this time he was not so lucky. He was quickly swallowed by the collapsed space. Space became silent again. All the sound and noise disappeared. Jiang Yuochen stood on the water and looked in the direction of the space collapse. He shook his head and sighed. It's a pity to lose a piece of holy soft leather armor. A treasure like holy soft leather armor could only be owned by a powerful saint family. It was a priceless treasure that had only come about by accident. Although he did not get the holy soft leather armor, he had removed a powerful enemy. Jiang Yuochen would have time to accumulate military merits with full strength and look for the Xuanwu heritage place. Of course, he had to recover from his injury first. Jiang Yuochen suffered severe internal injuries from the fight with Xu Hai. He would not be able to recover quickly. He sank to the bottom of the water and took out the yin-yang wooden graph. He opened the gate of the space and entered into the inner world of the graph. 10 days later, with the assistance of healing pills, Jiang Yuochen had completely recovered from his injuries. Blackie appeared. It said, Jiang Yuochen, do you want to practice in the yin-yang wooden graph or go out? Jiang Yuochen thought for a moment. He shook his head. Secluding myself for refining can indeed increase my strength. I might even be able to successfully practice 1 or 2 ghost-level martial techniques. But I can't reach the ultimate realm of the heaven realm if I just seclude myself for refining. Moreover, fighting and killing is also a way of refining. By the way, there is another man. I almost forgot about him. Jiang Yuochen stood up and took out the auspicious vase. He let out Xu Chen, who had been trapped inside. Swoosh. A light spot flew out from the vase and landed on the ground. It turned into the shadow of an old man. It was Xu Chen. Xu Chen was free. He instantly swung the tiger hunting knife and chopped toward Jiang Yuochen. Kneel. Blackie roared. Xu Chen seemed like he'd been hit by a heavy blow. His body cramped. With a bang, he knelt on the ground. He could not move. What just happened? Xu Chen clenched his teeth. Blue veins bulged on his face. No matter how he resisted, he could not stand up. Blackie raised its head and walked over. It smiled and in a cold voice said, a monk at the 4th change of the fish dragon realm comes to my place and dares to resist. In the scroll world, Blackie's power was not sealed. It could easily suppress Xu Chen. Blackie patted Xu Chen's shoulder with its paws. Its long whiskers swept around Xu Chen's ears. It smiled. The scroll world is totally stable. It's time to build some palaces and abode of fairies and immortals. We'd better build another city. We happen to lack for laborers and will hire you first, old man. Do you have any opinion? All right. Since you don't, you will start to work tomorrow. Xu Chen was extremely obedient to Blackie's order. Jiang Yuochen shook his head and smiled. He walked in the direction of the sacred prime tree stump. Huang Yanshen sat cross-legged under the new seedlings of the sacred prime tree. Thick Xuanwu Qi enveloped her. A strong and powerful aura emitted vaguely from her body. Huang Yanshen had been practicing in the scroll world for half a month. With the assistance of Xuanwu Qi, her cultivation had improved greatly. She had reached the late stage of the completion of the heaven realm and was just 1 step away from the fish dragon realm. Huang Yanjun did not immediately swallow the fish dragon pill to reach the fish dragon realm. She walked out the scroll world with Zhang Yuochen together. She wanted to practice in the Xuanwu primitive world for a while and stabilize her current realm. Both of them walked out of the space gate. They headed toward the middle of the Xixuan Sea. What a strong spiritual blood smell. It wasn't long before Zhang Yuochen sniffed and smelled the strong stench of blood too. They followed the smell. A small ship appeared on the water in the distance. Zhang Yuochen leapt up and landed on the ship. He saw the miserable condition on the ship and felt anger in his heart. Zhang Yuochen knew all the soldiers of primitive world on this ship. Although he was not familiar with them, he had great respect for them and treated them as his old friends. However, the 9 soldiers had died in distress, especially the leader Ninanfei. He had met an even more tragic death. All 10 fingers had been chopped off. Both his eyeballs had been dug out. His stomach was cut open. Even his heart had been dug out and thrown to the side. Ninanfei was a senior, and a veteran Zhang Yuochen respected very much. He never thought that he would die like this. Seeing their condition, he could only assume that they had been cruelly tortured before they died. Huang Yanjun arrived shortly after Zhang Yuochen. Seeing the situation in front of her, she could not help frowning. Is it possible that the indigents from the Xuanwu primitive world killed them? Zhang Yuochen clenched his fists. He shook his head and said coldly, "No, it was the evil warriors from the black market. Their aura remains on the ship. They must have sensed my aura. This was why they used such diabolical means to question the soldiers." Bang! Zhang Yuochen hit his fist on the mast, leaving a large hole. A cold murderous feeling emitted from his body. He said seriously, "Green-robed emissary, I swear I will get even with you." Huang Yanjun had never seen Zhang Yuochen so angry. She pursed her lips slightly and urged in a low voice, "I know you are very angry and you blame yourself, but I still have to remind you, never let the anger get you." The green-robed emissary, Yin Yuking and the Iron Lady are all masters that have been famous for a long time. They have very high status in the evil circle. With our current strength, if we fight against them, it will be like hitting an egg against a rock. Zhang Yuochen slowly stretched his 5 fingers and let out a long breath. He gradually restored his equilibrium. "I understand. I am not so stupid to confront them with toughness before I reach the fish dragon realm." The fish dragon realm. Zhang Yuochen gazed into the distance. He clenched his teeth, full of endless hope. One could only really be beyond the martial arts and break the mortal's limit by reaching the fish dragon realm. Who didn't want to reach the realm? In his last lifetime, Zhang Yuochen had not reached the fish dragon realm. He did not know the subtlety of the realm. It was because he had not reached the realm that he looked forward to it so much. Certainly, he had to reach the ultimate realm before that. The ultimate realm of the heaven realm might be difficult for others. However, it was not hard for him. Riding on the ship, Zhang Yuochen and Huang Yanjun came to a remote island. On the island, they dug out pits to bury the 9 soldiers. Huang Yanjun asked curiously, "Why don't we bring them back to the Huanghe Island base? Then the Ministry of War would give their families pensions. Wouldn't this be better?" Zhang Yuochen covered the pit with the last pile of soil. He shook his head. "If we brought them back to the Huanghe Island base, the Ministry of War would notice with one look that they were not killed by the indigents. They might think that we killed them. Second, as long as they are not back to the base, the Ministry of War will certainly count their names and think that they have died in the battlefield of the primitive world. Their families will still get pensions." Huang Yanjun nodded her head. She had to admit that Zhang Yuochen considered a problem more thoroughly than she did. Zhang Yuochen said thoughtfully, "We are at least 1,500 kilometers away from the Huanghe Island base. We have entered a relatively dangerous area. If we move forward, we will be in the middle of the Xixuan Sea. Why should we go to the depth of the Xixuan Sea? You have said that it is a very dangerous area. Even a half-saint could die there," Huang Yanjun said. Zhang Yuochen had fully calmed down and suppressed his anger. He analyzed, "Huang Shenyi has been to the Xuanwu primitive world twice. And both times he went to the Huanghe Island base. With his cultivation, he can't go to the Xuan continent or the continent of Wu. and he can't go to the other sea area either. He can only practice in the Xixuan Sea. Huang Yanjin's eyes sparkled. You mean that the Xuanwu heritage place may be in the Xixuan Sea too? It should be, Zhang Yuochen said again. If the Xuanwu heritage place was not far from Huanghe Island, it would have been found long ago. It must be in the depth of Xixuan Sea, which is very dangerous. No one dares to go there. It is because of this that it is full of endless opportunities. If I can figure it out, other monks who want to find the Xuanwu heritage place have probably also thought of it. If I am right, the green-robed emissary, Yin Yugeng, the Iron Lady and other monks in the Fish Dragon realm have probably already been in the depth of the Xixuan Sea. Huang Yanjin asked, are we going there now? Zhang Yuochen shook his head. No. If we go there now, we won't be able to compete with masters in the Fish Dragon realm. Moreover, if the Xuanwu heritage place was easy to find, I'm afraid it would have been discovered long ago. Huang Shenyi couldn't find it. We don't have to rush over right now. Our priority now is to improve our cultivation. Huang Yanshen said, we can experience ourselves at the boundary of the Xixuan Sea. We can look for the Xuanwu heritage place when I reach the Fish Dragon realm. Zhang Yuochen nodded his head. They spent the next 4 days in the boundary area of the Xixuan Sea. Zhang Yuochen killed 86 4th-level savage beasts and accumulated 2,372 military merits. Huang Yanshen killed 13 4th-level savage beasts and obtained 412 military merits. Of course, Huang Yanjin did not have much chance to strike. Most of the time, she was helping Zhang Yuochen to clean up the battlefield, collecting spiritual brawn from inside the savage beast's body, skin, armor and blood. A 4th-level savage beast was full of treasures. If they brought it back to the Myriad Chaos Mountain, they could get a large amount of spiritual crystals. Huang Yanshen was not as talented as Zhang Yuochen. However, she had refined dragon's blood and Xuanwu Qi and also swallowed a large amount of treasures. With her current cultivation in the late stage of the completion of the Heaven Realm and her strength, it was enough for her to be in the top 1001 the Heaven Board. There was hope for her strength to go further after she practiced for a while. However, Huang Yanshen knew that Zhang Yuochen needed the military merits more than she did to reach the ultimate realm. So she did not strike out much and left the savage beasts for Zhang Yuochen to deal with. It's impossible to accumulate 30 million military merits if I only kill 4th-level indigenous savage beasts. From tomorrow on, we will head to the center of the Xixuan Sea to kill 5th-level savage beasts. Zhang Yuochen made his decision. Huang Yanshen certainly did not have any opinion about it. Actually, she also wanted to fight 5th-level savage beasts. Only through danger could one's potential be activated and improved.